So now we're starting section 2A. I hope you've already worked on your homework just a little bit from section 1E, and I hope you've already done the extra credit that was available in section 1E. 2A is the understanding, solve, and explain. So we have some fill-in notes, and it's also the start of the real math, the actual calculations of things. So we talk about the importance of units. In section 2A, we start dealing with things that you're going to look at and say, why aren't we doing this the easier way? I could do this so much easier in my head. And if you would stick with me, and instead of worrying about how easy you can do it in your head, do it kind of the way I show you instead, then when we get to the harder problems that you can't really do in your head correctly, or when it's really difficult to do them in your head, it'll be a whole lot easier for you to do it the way that I show you. So, and then you'll understand the way that I show you by then. So just kind of stick with me through the struggle just for a little bit, just a little bit, and then it'll be a whole lot easier for you later on. So, units are words that describe what's being measured. Let me change this to a writing utensil. Or counted. Unit analysis is the process of working with units. To help solve problems. And then there are some key words. Per is one of those keywords we see a lot in word problems, and this class is so full of word problems. That's what most of this class is. Don't panic, we're going to talk about how to do them. So, per means division. An example would be something like miles per hour. You're used to seeing that one all the time. You read it as miles per hour, but you see miles per hour or miles per hour. You don't think of it that way, but that's what it is. Miles per hour. It's a division problem. There's a little division bar in there. Of, or a hyphen, is supposed to look like a division symbol. It should look like a division symbol. I can usually make it look like a division symbol. Let's try going this way. Somewhat. Okay. Of or hyphen is a multiplication symbol. In this particular class, all multiplication symbols are usually going to be dots. We very seldom use X's because X's tend to be X's in this class, like the letter X. The only time we really don't use the letter X is when we're talking about scientific notation. The operation is multiplication. Sorry about the jumping around, it's because of the program. An example would be 10% of 40. And you usually do that by saying 0.10, because that's what 10% of any number is, 0.10, times 40. Square is raising a number to the second power. Or multiplying by itself. a squared is equal to a times a. Cubing is raising something to the third power. Multiplying by itself. So that there are 3 of them. So a cubed is equal to a times a times a. 3 a's. We could have feet squared, which is feet times feet. Or we could have feet cubed, which is feet times feet times feet. Conversion factor is a ratio. A ratio is a fraction, which represents the relationship between 2 different units. Unit conversions work and how to do them. You always start with the question. That'll become really important later on, but I wanted to make sure I pointed it out now. You need to find a conversion factor or unit relationship that includes that unit. Put that relationship into the first fraction with the common unit on the bottom as the original one that was on top, making sure to put the numbers with the correct units. There are units in your table that do not want in your final answer. Cancel them out by putting that unit in the opposite side of fractions. Repeat step 3 until you have no units to cancel at the end of the top. The desired unit you want your answer to be in. Remember that the units on top will cancel out with the units on the bottom. Multiply the numbers straight across the top. Divide by every number on the bottom. That's the one that I keep repeating over and over again. Now they want us to do example number 1. Convert 16 feet to yards, which you can do in your head. I know that you can. So there are a few things I want to caveat this with. One of them is if we go over something and it is not something that you know by heart, it's not a fact that you know by heart, and I tell you you're going to have it memorized, then you need to go ahead and write it down on a little index card, because that means you're going to have it memorized. It's not going to be given to you on the final exam. We expect you to know it. It should be common knowledge. It's one of those things that should be common knowledge. So you need to make sure that it's something that you already have memorized. One of them happens to be something to do with feet and yards. We start out with the 16 feet. That's information they gave you. So we're going to go ahead and write down our 16 feet. Now the question is, I'm going to put my multiplication sign because we're going to have to multiply. What do we know about feet and yards? What do you know about feet and yards? Well, I happen to know that 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. That's something that I know by heart. If you don't know it by heart, you need to make sure you put it on a card. This gives me the opportunity to make a fraction. I could make 2 different fractions with this. I could either make 3 foot on top and 1 yard on bottom, because that's a true fraction. It still would equal 1. It'll reduce down. They're true things. Or I could put 1 yard on top. Hold on. I could put 1 yard on top and 3 feet on the bottom. Either one of those is true. I could pick, this is the fact, over here. And because of that fact, I can pick either this one or I could pick this one. I need to decide which one I'm going to pick to go over here. I need to make sure that whichever one I pick, we're going to have something that can cancel out. So right now I have feet on top. I can tell that the feet are on top because they are not underneath a bar. So since my feet are on top, I'm going to have feet on the bottom so that it can cancel out. Because I'm not looking for feet in my answers. I want yards to be in my answers. So if that's the case, I'm going to need my yards to be on top. So if yards have to be on top and feet have to be on the bottom, that means I'm going to want this one. So I'm going to put 1 yard on top and 3 feet on the bottom. Now, you have said, like 10 minutes ago, you said, I could do this in my head. I know you did. You've already done it. You did it like an hour and a half ago. It's okay. Hold on. I'm getting there. Now that we have our feet on top and our feet on the bottom, I can cancel those out. Which means that I can multiply across the top and divide by what's left on the bottom. That's what it says. Multiply the numbers straight across the top and divide by every number on the bottom to get your answer. 16 times 1 is 16 yards, because that's what's left on top, divided by 3. 16 divided by 3, that's 5 1/3 yards. If you did it in your calculator, you get 5.33 repeating yards. I would take either if you got 16 over 3 yards and you wanted to leave it like that, I would take that. My math lab is going to tell you if they want you to leave it as an improper fraction or a mixed number or as a decimal rounded to a specific place. They're going to tell you which one they want. I would take any of those because it didn't tell you which one specifically they wanted. Now, as I said, you went ahead and did this like 10 minutes ago. That's fine. I know you know how to do it. That was never in question. But I wanted you to do it this way where we canceled stuff out, because later on, knowing how to cancel stuff out will tell you what you put on top and what you put on bottom and help you know which number goes where. And that'll be very important to you later on. Very, very important to you later on. Right now, you didn't need that help because you knew that fact by heart. But when you don't know those facts anymore, when they don't just pop into your head, when it's not something you haven't worked with forever, then it matters. It matters a whole lot. When those problems get hard, it matters a whole lot. So practice on the easy problems, setting them up so that when you get to the hard problems, you'll be able to do it. I did example 1. You try example 2. Let's see if you can set it up.